Think of World War II, they picture Normandy, the Battle of Britain, or island hopping in the Pacific. But one of the war's longest, harshest, and most geopolitically important campaigns unfolded thousands of miles away in the dense jungles and mountains of Burma, modern-day Myanmar. This was the Burma Campaign, often called the Forgotten Front, where British, Indian, Chinese, American, African, and local Burmese forces fought one of the most complicated multinational operations of the entire war. The stakes were enormous: control of Southeast Asia, access to India, and the survival of China's resistance to Japan. Burma wasn't just another battlefield, it was strategically essential. Japan invaded in early 1942 for three key reasons: to cut China off from outside support. The famous Burma Road was China's last major supply line from the Allies. When Japan captured Burma, that connection collapsed. To threaten British India, Japan's expansion aimed to encircle the British Empire's most important colony. Controlling Burma positioned them directly on India's doorstep. To secure natural resources, Burma's oil fields, rice harvests, and access to the Bay of Bengal were major targets for Japan's war machine. By May 1942, the Japanese controlled almost the entire country. The Allied retreat was one of the longest in British military history, 900 miles in heat that often reached 120 degrees. Soldiers didn't just die from combat, they died from malaria, cholera, starvation, exhaustion, and monsoon floods. Entire units were reduced by half before ever seeing battle. The British Indian Army, which eventually grew to more than 2.5 million volunteers, supplied most of the manpower. Soldiers from East and West Africa fought in the harsh terrain, particularly Nigerian, Ghanaian, and Kenyan battalions. Chinese nationalist troops, supplied and trained by the Americans, marched into northern Burma to reopen supply routes. American forces, including the famed Merrill's Marauders, specialized in long-range jungle warfare. Local Burmese ethnic groups, such as the Karen, Kachin, and Chin, served as scouts, guerrilla fighters, and guides. Their knowledge of the terrain was invaluable. Air support came from Britain's RAF, the American Flying Tigers, and later the USAF. This was not a single army. It was a coalition that overcame language barriers, incompatible equipment, rival political goals, and vastly different training. Yet it fought with remarkable coordination across one of the most inhospitable landscapes on Earth. The terrain in Burma was as deadly as the Japanese army. Monsoon season could last 5 months, turning roads into rivers. Soldiers marched through leeches, snakes, and waist-deep mud. Malaria infected entire battalions. Some units saw infection rates above 80%. Food spoiled within hours, so supply was an ongoing crisis. Because trucks and railroads were impossible, Burma became the first major campaign in history where air supply was the primary logistical method. American and British pilots flew over the Himalayas, nicknamed the Hump, to deliver ammunition, food, and medicine. Flying the Hump had one of the highest fatality rates of any air operation in WWII. In 1944, Japan launched its boldest plan: invade India directly. The battles of Imphal and Kohima that followed were so brutal that they are sometimes called the Stalingrad of the East. At Kohima, fighting raged over a tennis court in the center of the town. Soldiers were only yards apart. Both sides faced starvation because monsoon conditions cut off supply. Mutinies broke out within the Japanese army due to lack of food. Men survived on handfuls of rice a day. By late 1944, Japan's forces were collapsing. The Allies launched a massive counteroffensive, pushing the Japanese back across the Chindwin River and finally reclaiming Burma in early 1945. No account of the Burma Campaign is complete without the Chindits, a British Special Operations Group led by the controversial Major General Ord Wingate. They were trained for deep penetration missions, living behind enemy lines for weeks. They carried only what they could walk with, relying on airdrops for survival. Attrition was severe. Disease, exhaustion, and malnutrition killed more Chindits than bullets. Their operations disrupted Japanese supply lines, but at enormous human cost. Their survival rates sparked fierce post-war debate, but their missions helped bleed Japanese resources before the major Allied counteroffensive. One of the major goals of the entire campaign was reopening the supply line to China after Japan cut the original Burma Road. Allied engineers, many of them African-American units from the US, spent years carving the Ledo Road through mountains and rainforest. The project required blasting rock, building bridges in monsoon storms, and fighting malaria constantly. When the Ledo Road finally connected to the Burma Road in 1945, supplies flowed again into China just months before Japan's surrender. It was one of the war's greatest engineering feats, but one that remains widely overlooked. That remains widely overlooked. Well, that luck. Okay, as I looks for base to light dawn from my Luch's car later there. In most of the loop, the Kaifa meets, I don't know if I like to clear look off with a Russo to directly off that, but it look like to Grasser facing one loop point. Cinderella in the area. Every look last off. Despite being one of the longest and most diverse campaigns in World War II, the Burma front rarely appears in popular histories. It lacked iconic beach landings or single decisive battles. It was fought in remote jungles far from the cameras. And many who fought there, particularly Indian, African, and Burmese soldiers, were never given full recognition in Western narratives. But the outcome shaped Asia's post-war political order, contributed directly to Japan's defeat, and demonstrated extraordinary courage in one of the harshest environments of the war. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future history deep dives. Thanks for watching.